Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Hello and thanks for joining us. First tonight, the head of Tasmania's fire service has suddenly and unexpectedly quit. The announcement by Chief Officer Dermot Barry sending shockwaves and comes amid speculation the department pushed him out of the top job after he criticised emergency service reforms.
He's led us through disasters for the past 2 years.
He's well respected amongst all career and volunteer firefighters, and certainly those that are employed and volunteer at our emergency service organisations.
But after 37 years in the emergency services and 2 years in the top job, Dermot Barry has today resigned as Chief of Tasmania Fire Service.
The government have not been happy that Mr Barry formally put on the public record previously that his preference would be for a standalone Tasmanian Fire Emergency Service organisation.
This is a government that we know has a history and a pattern of silencing people that don't agree with it, and the fact that we're losing such a highly respected officer, respected by both the career and volunteer firefighters and across the community, is an indictment on this government and particularly on this minister.
But late today, 2 statements with no suggestion anyone was unhappy with his performance. The minister instead thanking Mr Barry for his service to the TFS and the Tasmanian community, followed by this from the Department Secretary, acknowledging the importance of his role in supporting emergency personnel. Donna Adams saying, "I know Dermot will be missed by the TFS, SES staff and volunteers."
I'm absolutely sure that the government is looking for someone who is more compliant, whereas what the fire service is looking for, what firefighters are looking for, what communities are looking for, is someone who's good at their job.
On the back of the announcement, the state's volunteer firefighters are calling for its members to reject the approach by the department, claiming their voices are being ignored. Talia Jordan, 7 Tasmania News.
A West Hobart home has been gutted by fire, with a damage bill estimated to be around $500,000. Investigators say the cause of the blaze remains a mystery as officers prepare for a night on fire watch.
A daylight blaze ripping through this Liverpool Street home as smoke billows out across Hobart.
It's big black smoke and it's toxic and it smells, and just to think that that's somebody's life that's going up in flames, my heart just goes out to them.
Emergency services swarming the scene around midday after receiving multiple calls from witnesses.
We had to cut a hole through the wall to access the actual fire. We couldn't enter the building, it was too dangerous.
Hobart, Glenorchy, Bridgewater and Clarence fire crews working to extinguish the flames believed to have started in the laundry.
I'm quite tired, my heart rate's up very high. Breathed in a little bit of smoke. It's as you said, it's unusual in Hobart to get a fire this big.
Neighbours shrouding themselves from smoke and dropping everything to check on their own dwellings.
We were working down in Battery Point and stacking book boxes, and we saw the plume of smoke up over the hill when we were moving in and out. Thought it was a bit close to the house. Partner chucked his phone camera on. And it was a bit close.
The property is leased out, but no one was home at the time of the incident. Its owners taken aback by the charred aftermath.
At this stage, there's an active investigation, so the fire scene examiner can't check on the property till the early hours of the morning.
Until then, the cause of the fire remains unknown. Brianna Boylan, 7 Tasmania News.
Forensic testing on items seized after the disappearance of 14-year-old Cheyenne Lee Tacknell is continuing. Police have not disclosed what the items are, but located them about 2 weeks ago, with test results anticipated to be returned next week. Cheyenne was last seen in the Launceston area on April 30. Anyone with information regarding her disappearance is asked to come forward. Jeremy Rockcliffe is being backed to continue as Premier despite last night's chaotic defeat in State Parliament. The opposition believes the result could be politically fatal for him as the Greens call for a renegotiation of our 19th licence deal with the AFL.
Another vote, another loss for the state government.
Ayes 12, noes 10, therefore the ayes have it.
Lara Alexander's decision to side with the opposition and adjourn the House of Assembly once again showed the fragility facing the Premier on the floor of Parliament, an issue his political opponents believe could cause him trouble.
Clearly, Premier Rockcliffe is politically a dead man walking.
The Education Minister today backing his leader to continue in the job.
I know he will be. He's a fantastic Premier. Over the last 9 years, we've had 3 great leaders. Labor hasn't had one.
Also defending what was provided yesterday.
I understand that we have released all the information that we are able to at this stage and met the requirements of the motion that was passed earlier.
Labor and the Greens, however, want more.
We don't know what the advice was from Treasury. We don't know what the advice was from other departments.
He just slapped those papers down on the table and wandered off as if that would be enough, and clearly it was not.
Also urging the Premier to get a stadium-free deal from the AFL.
Go back and renegotiate that deal. We don't accept that if we say no to a stadium, the AFL has grounds just to flick us.
Former Labor leader David O'Byrne, however, is warning all sides, including his old teammates, to work together or face losing the entire dream.
If the politics is continued to be played in both houses of the parliament, we won't have a stadium, we won't have a team, and health and education are still stuffed.
Labor is confident his views aren't reflected in the party room.
We really enjoy working together, and no, I don't think there'd be any phrase at all coming from the Labor PLP.
The deal also set for further scrutiny. The Public Accounts Committee is refining its inquiry into the AFL bid, sharpening its focus on the agreement between the League and the government and the financial risks. John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Financial incentives for buying electric vehicles, bikes and scooters will soon be introduced by the state government. It's part of their new Climate Change Action Plan, which funds $10 million of green initiatives and has the backing of some Hobart College students.
Phasing out diesel fuelers to heat schools with more renewable energy. I'm super excited to see that, which relates to our sustainability policy.
We've been the envy of the world in terms of being able to talk about being better than net zero, net negative greenhouse gas emissions as a state for 9 years in a row now.
Also funded is programs to reduce livestock emissions, educational resources and a statewide climate risk assessment. The state's doctors have threatened to ramp up industrial action after failing to receive an offer from the government addressing the growing number of vacancies for in-training positions. They say Tasmanian salaries need to be better than Victoria's to fill the positions.
They perform an incredibly important role in our health system. Every Tasmanian depends on them. We will stay in good faith negotiations with them until we resolve the outstanding issues.
They're also calling for a stop on spending $90 million a year on locums and instead invest in doctors who are willing to live in the state. A 52-year-old Hobart man charged with murder has fronted the Magistrates Court. John Paul McDonald was arrested following a disturbance at a private property on Liverpool Street in February. A 51-year-old Glenorchy man involved in the incident died in the Royal Hobart Hospital with blunt force injuries to his head. The accused did not enter a plea and will remain in custody until July 6. Ben Lomond is a step closer to full recovery, more than 5 years since a fire devastated the alpine community. A new public shelter is ready to welcome visitors back to the slopes, just in time for the opening of the ski season next weekend.
The ultimate vantage point to start a trip to the snow. Construction is now finished on the gateway to the village, marking a new mountain era.
The ability to be within the environment but not in the environment, so it's game-changing.
In 2018, a devastating fire destroyed the old shelter, the fallout from the inferno leaving a 5-year gap in the community. The focus now turns to breathing new life back into Ben Lomond, with a $2.7 million bill days away from welcoming visitors.
Our government made a commitment to replace it on the same site, better and more modern with more facilities than before.
The construction process no small feat in the unique and challenging environment.
Negotiating with the ladder, the weather, procurement of materials was a real challenge for sure.
The ski field now attracts explorers all year round.
It's been a fantastic and new space that we're going to look very much welcoming to share with everyone.
A place that is safe and comfortable for a range of users 24 hours a day, right around the year.
While Well, there isn't much snow on the ground today. Preparations are in full swing ahead of the season opening next weekend, with bumper crowds expected to make the trip.
Our numbers are increasing post-COVID. We look at any for a snow season about up to 10,000 people through a season.
The mountain slopes now ready and waiting. Victoria East 07 Tasmania News.
Three brand new cars at a Launceston car yard have been damaged overnight after another car lost control and crashed into the MG dealership. It's understood the driver of the Holden Commodore fled the scene but later handed themselves into police. No serious injuries were reported. Tasmania Police say its Hobart CBD task force is delivering strong results to combat antisocial and criminal behaviour in the city centre. Since its establishment on May 1st, 21 people have been arrested, 3 summons and 3 fines were issued. 44 individuals have been given formal directions to leave the area, of those 38 were youths. The offences included stealing, drug possession and disorderly conduct. The City of Launceston Council has endorsed an acting Deputy Mayor more than 2 weeks after former Mayor Danny Gibson's resignation. Andrea Dawkins will fill the position until the by-election for Mayor is complete. She will also run for Mayor, as will Alan Harris, joining Matthew Garwood and Tim Walker, who are also vying for the position. Nominations for the election close on Tuesday, with Hugh McKenzie confirming he won't run. The home of the Jack Jumpers has been transformed, with Centre Court getting a new look in the off-season. To make sure the space is utilised year-round, MyState Bank Arena has launched a new function venue to attract more world-class events to Tasmania.
From a packed-out stadium of Ants fans unleashing their roar for the Jackies.
The jet for 3. Tasmania in front. MyState Bank Arena comes alive.
To a forward-thinking function space, the Nest is expanding its capabilities beyond its exciting NBL adventure.
We say that Tassie should always be on the map, and we've got to have the infrastructure to support it, and this is the first step in that.
Atlanta site was launched to the masses under lights at MyState Bank Arena. The cutting of the ribbon making it officially Tasmania's largest indoor function and entertainment venue.
What a wonderful thing we have going now. We have Atlanta site, the next addition to MyState Bank Arena, and that should and will bring in more wonderful events to this great arena.
The name of the site inspired from a rare mineral only found on Tasmania's west coast.
We want this to compete with Palladium at Crown, the Star City Casino, all of those other venues around Australia that put on these kind of events.
With a goal to open up the Apple Isle and have the entire events industry looking down south for their next showcase.
There's really no national dinners and events that we wouldn't be able to host here. So really it's the best technology. You can put on the best light shows.
Future-proofing the asset for Tasmanians to enjoy for years to come. Grace Evans, 7 Tasmania News.
The state government says it is supporting food relief organisation as it faces pressure to do more. Labor says groups like the Brighton Community Food Hub are facing soaring demand due to inflation. The hub has seen a 50% jump in customers since Christmas, with its costs also rising.
Volunteers shouldn't have to be paying for their own petrol, using their own cars, especially when they're donating so much of their time.
We had a lady with a Mercedes-Benz out the front. I loaded some food into her car recently. She burst into tears and said, "I never thought that I would end up having to go to a food relief place."
Community Services Minister Nick Street says more than $9 million has been delivered to the sector since 2018, with grants programs also available for low-cost food. Grade 10 students from Kingston and Kings Meadows High Schools are preparing to graduate from a pilot program, allowing them to make better informed decisions when it comes to selecting a career. The cohort undertook work experience across a range of industries, including construction, automotive, tourism, hospitality and law.
When it first started off with the presentation, I heard something about nursing and getting into that, and I wanted to be a nurse when I'm older. So I kind of was like, oh, I think I might try this out.
Last night, the Beacon team were able to beam into a conference in Paris with counterparts all over the world to talk about this program.
It's hoped the program will be rolled out across Australia. And more than 160 of the state's best young minds have come together as part of a youth forum in Launceston. The participants spending the day discussing what a mentally resilient future looks like to them.
I really hope that the decision makers who are here today, politicians, are listening to what we've said today and are listening to all of the important inputs that young people have.
Really important that all aspects of the state, people from all backgrounds and areas, get to talk about their lived experiences on mental health.
The event was run by the Youth Network of Tasmania. Tasmanian students have ended the school week with a drop-in from one of the state's most vital modes of air safety transport. Getting a rare up-close look, the Westpac rescue helicopter landed at St Virgil's Junior Campus to provide an opportunity to meet the crew who patrol our skies.
Being able to help someone on the worst day of their life and return them to their family, nothing gives you a better feeling than that.
With a hope to inspire the next generation to consider a career up in the air. A new partnership has been established, launched at the Campbelltown Show. The Tasmanian Farmers and Graziers Association pairing up with Primary Employment Tasmania to collaborate to provide HR support to their members.
In the past, this has always been fragmented, with PET supplying that to its members and TFGA, but this is all about collaboration.
Everyone I speak to around Tasmania, labour and workforce is probably the number one issue. So together, TFGA and Primary Employers Tasmania will be able to advocate on their behalf.
The deal has been in the works for 6 months. The Campbelltown Show continues tomorrow. The Clarence City Council has used Reconciliation Week to launch its new Takara Lamuna walking track, a cultural ceremony held to mark the occasion. The project has been in the works for several years, with Aboriginal artists employed to tell the stories of the Palawa people.
I'm from Bruny Island, and there's no recognition of Aboriginal people on Bruny Island, and something like this to be put out in the community for people to view is a good move towards understanding Aboriginal people.
Every inch of this island of Lutruwita is unceded Aboriginal land, and with that comes story, and those stories are still within country.
The track is 700 metres long, with QR codes along the way for members of the public to learn more about Tasmania's Aboriginal culture.
A battle between second and third in the state's Premier League soccer is expected to bring the energy, with Launceston City travelling south with an aim to jump up the ladder when they take on the Glenorchy Knights at KG5.
This could make a jump for us if we do end up coming out with a win at the end of this weekend.
Meanwhile, in the WSL, Taroona will be chasing their first points of the season when they suit up against Devonport, taking confidence from their last round battle against South Hobart.
We've been working really hard on our defensive strategy and organisation, and we've been practicing being a little bit more hungry up front, so hopefully we can show that side of it this weekend.
But it won't be without a fight as the Strikers look to leverage on their home ground advantage. With his season in Turkey drawing to a close, conversations with star basketball import Milton Doyle have opened back up for the Jack Jumpers. The club is looking to secure their MVP for another NBL season, with a decision on his future expected by the end of next week.
That's obviously still an ongoing discussion, but certainly we've always said it's a really positive discussion. I think Scott's been quite vocal about that.
The organisation says Ants fans should be excited by what will be a strong final roster. The next generation of long-distance stars have taken over Windsor Park. Students from 15 Launceston state primary schools facing off in this year's LSSA Cross Country Carnival. More than 700 runners igniting their interstate rivalries across 3 divisions, hoping to take home the top honours.
This is a great opportunity for our primary school kids to have a go at some cross country, hopefully funneling them into some lifelong activity when they're older.
The state championship will be held on June 27. The women's state of origin had a particularly Tasmanian influence in Parramatta last night. Launceston-born Sophie Holliman made her debut with the Maroons on the interchange in their 8-point victory against New South Wales. The 25-year-old prop played 17 minutes for Queensland in the second half, making 10 tackles. New South Wales needs to win Game 2 in Townsville by 9 points or more to win the series. And it's the first week of winter, so we're in for a frosty Friday flashback tonight. In 1995, our cameramen shivered as they covered the popular cross-country event on skis, the Lomond Descent.
An annual ritual for so many winter wanderers. The Lomond Descent pulled in dozens of ski cross lovers each year for a day of high-altitude punishment. The course saw competitors take off from the Lomond ski village for 2 laps of the summit, a 6-kilometre trek which was sure to burn plenty of energy, especially on the gruelling uphill part of the course facing torturous headwinds. The way back down was far more gentle, and as racers pushed through the pain, one camera-shy critter decided to make tracks of his own, but the fastest alpine adventurers were happy to have the limelight. The Lomond Descent was part 1 of a 3-part series, which included mountain bike and kayak legs. But for spectacular snowy shots, you can't go past the mountaintop mayhem. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Good evening. Happy Friday to you all. Hobart and Burnie 14 today, Launceston and Devonport 13 degrees, 15 the high at Bushy Park and Friendly Beaches. Temperatures near average, but of course winter has just started. Grove, St Helens and the Islands all 14, Lowhead 13, Strawn 12 today and Fingal the overnight low -4. Low level cloud over our west and along the coastlines mixed with patches of high cloud today. Not much rain in that at all this afternoon. The low over the Bight extends bands of cloud over southern Australia with a frontal band well south of the Bight. Tomorrow the cold front brushes the southern coast. The low remains over the Bight as well. Northwest winds will shift southwesterly late morning. They'll increase over the east to 20 to 30 knots, swells at 4 metres in southern waters. A strong wind warning has been issued for waters between St Helens Point and Low Rocky Point. Hobart tomorrow, a top of 14 and mostly cloudy, 11 degrees for Medina, 90% chance of a shower or 2, cloudy for Oatlands and 12 the top. Launceston, a high of 15 and partly cloudy. Cloud clearing from Devonport, 16 the maximum, 7 for Lyowini after an early frost. Burnie, partly cloudy and 15. Marrawar, a possible shower, 15 as well, and Strawn 13 degrees. St Helens tomorrow, 15, partly cloudy. Swansea the same and 14 the top for Orford. On Sunday, a fine day after morning fog and frost for those that normally cop it. Monday's weather should remain fine, possibly a late shower over St Helens. And on Tuesday, the showers back, mainly over the north and upper east. A sunny day ahead for Perth and Adelaide. Morning showers forecast for Melbourne. Partly cloudy conditions up the eastern seaboard. Sydney 22 and Brisbane 25. Still cloudy, 10 degrees in Hobart, 8 degrees in Launceston, Devonport cloudy and 10 degrees. Kim, I can see the smile on your face right now, knowing full well that I'm not going to be here next week or the week after or maybe a bit after that some other time. But I have written a big book of instructions for you to get you through while I'm away.
Oh, we should have put that somewhere safe. You know where. Thanks, Herb. Have a lovely, lovely break. We'll see you soon, let's hope.